Hi, my name is Steven, and this is my creative project, which is a board game for my class, The Science of Global Change.
So for my creative project, I've created a board game. These are not filled in, but each square will have on each side one coal, one fracking, one nuclear, an event card, an oil, and a natural gas, right? So the goal of this game is essentially to convert all coal, fracking, nuclear, oil, and natural gas to these renewable energies. This is kind of like Monopoly. There's money involved, and there's, those are event cards. But the deal here is that these these fossil fuels and nuclear do not cost you money when you land on them. Once you land on them, you can acquire them. Now, there's an energy cost requirement per every 2 turns. Every turn, flip after turn 2, 1 energy source required. So by turn 3, you're gonna have to have a coal, a fracking, a nuclear, an oil, a natural gas, etc. These don't cost money. These do. And you need to replace, and so like if you want to get a solar, you have to already have a fracking or a coal or a nuclear in place in which you switch to. And there is a cost to switch to solar, but the price per turn is lower. So that point is just to show how much like the different energy costs are, and all this will be linked in Google Doc attached to the video, just citing my sources about how much like renewables cost, etc. But yeah, basically the point of the game is to be able to switch all of these renewables from nuclear and fracking and coal. Although you don't necessarily need to switch from nuclear, but that gets to this, which is the coolest part of the game, I think. But here's the thing, right? So when you don't need any energy sources from like turn 1 or 2, you'll be able to accrue the money that you gain through these resources. So let's say I have a nuclear and a fracking and I'm on turn 1, or I'm on turn 2, because we haven't reached turn 3 yet. I'll be able to acquire $175 per turn before I need 1 energy source. So then, I'll only make 100 because I'll use the nuclear. But the thing is though, and then you might say, oh, but the solar, the hydro, and the wind, they have an obvious disadvantage. Like number 1, I have to pay money to get them, whereas these are free. And then number 2, like I'm accruing more money per turn when I get these. Well, that's the thing. As more energy is required, the price for these goes up, whereas while an initial investment costs more for hydro, wind, and solar, the regular like per turn costs much less. And for hydro, players only get to have 1 because I've looked it up, and like hydro is a lot harder to get than like solar wind. Solar wind is like a lot easier to do than hydro. But yeah, like you'll want to get these. You won't want to have these later in the game. And one of the even bigger reasons is the event cards. Now the event cards, I have 5 here, all do different things, but essentially certain resources you get really punished for having them. So like chance of polluted water, right? Like fracking, if you roll a 1 through 5, it'll be yes. Like you have accidentally polluted water, that'll be a roll 1 through 5 for fracking. That's the one that has the greatest risk for polluting water. Oil 1 through 3, nuclear for 1 through 2, coal for 1 through 2, and there's no roll for renewables. So if you land on between 1 and 5, 1 and 3, 1 and 2, 1 and 2, like for any of these fossil fuels, like, and nuclear's not fossil, but you get the point. Like you'll face like cash deductions and cash penalties, and you lose if you go bankrupt. You don't lose if you go bankrupt. You lose if you're not able to pay for your, well, I guess you do go for bankrupt. But the point is you have to be able to do your energy. You'll have to commit energy. Production emergency, again, all energy sources need updates. Natural gas and oil get punished the most, simply because they're the ones that the establishment of new like plants, new rigs, new mines, etc. are most costly, and then renewables cost much less to establish themselves. Same thing, energy needs double, and you can trigger disasters with this. So if you need more energy, well, and you don't have, like, let's say you have 4 of these cards and we're on turn 9, you'd have to have 4 of those cards. You don't have any excess energy. So you'll have to get more energy by increasing production in your coal plant, which, not your coal plant, your coal mine, which can lead to a cave-in, which again costs yourself more money. But wind, hydro, and solar is protected because with the renewables, you can go through battery. Nuclear recommission. I like this one a lot because it's very specific to nuclear. Nuclear plants need to be recommissioned and can cause major disasters if not. So the thing is, you can make 2 choices here, and this can show the irresponsibility of some energy producers, where you can either pay $250, and this has to be paid by all nuclear holders, or you can roll and chance it by not recommissioning your nuclear energy reactor, which, if you're a 1 through 3, can result in a meltdown and permanent loss of nuclear energy. Now out of the game completely if you chose to roll and you did not hit the successful roll. And then again, like, you know, just a randomly occurring natural disaster, coal results in the most deaths. And again, like, this will be linked for an article for like my sources for like how many deaths per 100,000, like each of these costs. Like renewables, it's almost 0, so it's basically no roll for renewables, and then for nuclear, and then oil, and etc. Right? So that's like the basic rules of the game, and that's the basic rules and the basic mechanics of the game. Now this is the last part of the game, which I really like, because I'll explain it. I'll show you first how it works, and then I will show how it works, and then I'll explain why I like this part so much. So this will happen after turn 10. Like, I'm sorry that the numbers don't work very well. Like the money, I don't really know how much you should have on hand or how much each thing should cost, so the game can actually be kind of playable. The math part is kind of hard, but you kind of get the idea I'm going for as far as the numbers go. So this might need to be adjusted to like turn 20, so that players can accrue money and can play out the end game, which is the part that I think like needs to be focused on the most. So after turn 10, atmospheric CO2 has reached 430 parts per million, which, and like I'll link the source to this, is the real tipping point where big natural disasters happen. Like you know, like great flooding, rising sea levels, like just temperature goes up, right? So this is the tipping point. So you have to pay $250 per oil, natural gas, fracking, and coal still on the board. Nuclear does not apply to this, so you don't have to pay carbon capture for nuclear, but you do have to do it for fracking, coal, oil, and natural gas. So let's say this is me. I'm the last player, right? I'm the last player that hasn't updated to renewable resources. Now I've replaced with hydro and solar, but I still have coal and natural gas. I need to pay, on top of my 100 per turn and 100 per turn, 200. I also need to pay $250 on top of the natural gas and coal per turn for carbon capture. And here's the thing. The money may be sourced from all or one players. Now the question is, like, this is a competitive game. Why would any other player source you the money? Like, you're about to lose. Like, you're going to go bankrupt. You're not going to be able to pay for your energy. And now you're going to lose. Why would they source the money? Well, the deal is that failure to pay for carbon recapture will result in a loss for all players. The point of this mechanic of the game is to show that cooperation for renewable energy needs to happen, because just like real life, like, it doesn't matter if one country or one part of the country or only half the world commits to renewable energy. Like, everybody bears the consequences. So it doesn't matter if this player goes fully, doesn't matter if this player goes fully renewable, right? Like, oh, like, look at me, like, I have all the renewables. Like, these players are all pink. You still lose because you're not going to be able to pay off the carbon capture for every single other player.
This is Stephen Unger, and this was my creative project for the science of global change. Thank you.